video we're going to go over the internet and encryption. The internet is a network of networks. So basically the internet is lots of different servers in different locations that are connected to each other, making it the widest area network of all. The World Wide Web is the name for the web pages that are on the internet. So if you want to access a website like YouTube, you send your request from your computer through the network to the server in America and it loads YouTube up. Most companies use hosting for their websites. Hosting is when a business uses their servers to store files for another organisation. The cloud uses online services to store files and apps. So Dropbox, Google Drive, these are all types of cloud. When it comes to hosting in the cloud, these servers often are in America or in Europe. In order to connect to them, you send a request from your device to open the file, and this is sent through the internet onto that server, and it will load the file and send the request back to you. Web servers respond to requests sent by clients over the internet. So the client is any device wanting to use or access a website. All of the websites on the World Wide Web are hosted through web servers. In order to get on them, you need to use the HTTP protocol, but we'll go over that in a bit more detail in the protocols video. But basically every single website has to start with HTTP or HTTPS, where the S stands for secure. In order to get on a website, you have to type these in. Now, modern computers don't require that you do this, it automatically adds it in for you, along with the www, which stands for World Wide Web. In order to access websites, a domain name server takes what you type in, so www.youtube.com, and converts it into an IP address. Now, because as humans we would struggle to remember all the IP addresses for all the different websites because they're a bunch of numbers, we use web addresses instead. The domain name server takes the web address, looks up the IP address, and then sends you to the right website. This process makes it much easier for humans to understand and use and access the internet. The cloud is another method of secondary storage. It exists on the internet in servers usually located in different countries. There are many positives and negatives of using the cloud, but we've gone over those in the secondary storage video. But just to recap, the cloud is often free for a very small amount of data, and then after that you have to pay. The biggest problem with storing all of your data on the cloud is that if you lose internet access, you therefore can't access your data anymore. If your data and information is stored on the cloud, you're not in control of that company's security protocols, so you're not actually sure how secure that website is, and you're not sure how easy it would be for someone to hack that website and steal that data. The biggest advantages to companies and people for using the cloud, though, is that it doesn't require any expert knowledge or any additional funds in terms of buying hardware. You pay money to use someone else's server, and all you need is a router and an internet connection. Encryption is often used on the internet, but it can be used in networks in general. Any data that is being sent from one device to another needs to be encrypted. Encryption is scrambling data so it cannot be used without a key. So if, for example, you're on a website and you're typing in your credit card number, you need to make sure that the website starts with HTTPS, because the S stands for secure, and that's going to make sure that your data is encrypted. So your credit card number will be turned into a code and assigned a key. The host website where you're trying to send your data to will have access to the key and be able to unscramble the code back into your credit card number so that the order can be processed. Hackers try to intercept data, and if it's not encrypted, they'll just then be able to take the data, like your credit card number, and then just use it. Encryption is often used over the internet, especially for websites where you're asked to enter personal information such as credit card details, but it is also used, generally speaking, on networks to try to keep them more secure. As computers move more and more to wireless technology and wide area networks on the internet, hacking is becoming a bigger and bigger problem. Encryption is one method of trying to keep hackers away, because even though they intercept the data, they won't be able to understand it without the key. This exam question we need to answer. A user types the address www.ocr.org.uk into a web browser. Describe how a domain name server is used to access this website and explain the advantages of using domain name servers. The quality of written communication will be assessed in your answer to this question. This means you cannot get the top marks, so that's 5 or 6 marks, if there are any errors in spelling, punctuation or grammar, and you need to make sure that you are using the correct computer science terminology in order to get full marks. So we're going to use Pepe to answer this question.
For our first point, we're going to use the first half of the definition, and we're going to say that domain name servers are databases of all the website addresses and their locations on the internet. We're then going to go on to explain that this means as long as the person using it has access to the domain name server, they can get on literally any website on the internet. For our second point, we're then going to say that the domain name server converts web addresses into IP addresses. And again, for our explanation, we're going to explain why that is an advantage, and that's that it makes it easier for people to use the internet because they don't need to remember the IP addresses of websites.